Alright, so what are we working on today? We are working on hiding some rust. So I'm not going to be able to really show y'all the vehicle to protect the dealer, but I do body work for dealers that need to hide rust and stuff like that. Hate me, love me, you know, whatever, but it's part of the body shop world. So we got this vehicle in, and it is from up north. The dealer actually brought it back from up north, and it's just absolutely rusted out. So you can't see a lot of it because it's been spray painted and bed lined so many times, but it's packed full of body filler. If you look over here on this side, I mean, it's just packed. That's all body filler, all that. It's just packed full of body filler. There's a hole through the inner structure. I mean, it's terrible. It's a clean tile. Now, yeah, you can look all underneath here while I'm under here and see how bad it is. Frame's been spray painted so many freaking times so that hopefully when you look underneath it you don't see anything. But I mean, it's just an absolute crap show. So here's the other side. This is the driver's side. Yeah, I mean, it's already been body filled because it come from up north, so I'm sure that they do this like crazy, but it's already got body filler all over it. It's got rust all down here. This is all near the bottoms. When you open it up, it's got rust all inside of here. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. You can actually see the rust is so bad that like the metal's almost separating on the outside. And you can just see the reflection in this, how it's already had so much body filler packed on top of it. If you come underneath the doors, I mean, it's crazy how bad this thing is. So all along the bottom of the doors are rusted out. It's all another door. Fronts are all rusted out. You know, I mean, it's terrible. There's a lot more spots. The other side, I mean, you can see there's a straight up gap in here. We're gonna have to pack all this full of filler and grind this. They are gonna put some trim stuff over this to hide this. Let's see here. This is, oh, it's locked. Anyway, the other side is all. You can see right there how bad the rust is. So we're gonna come through here and hide what we can for them. Covered up like everybody else freaking does. A lot of shops won't do this. I don't necessarily like to do it, but it pays the bills. It puts food on the plate. So I figured I'd try to show y'all what I can without exposing the vehicle really, and without exposing the dealer, because I'm definitely not out to bash anybody's name, because I know that that's how they do it, and that's how all dealers make their money, especially with clean titles. And honestly, I don't see nothing wrong with it. I mean, if you're going to buy a vehicle, inspect the vehicle over really good before you buy it, and you'll be able to see this stuff. You'll be able to see all this stuff easily. Like, I mean, if you look close enough, you can see. I'm gonna teach y'all enough stuff of how paint shops and in the body shop world, how we hide stuff and how we cover up stuff, that if you look close enough, you'll know what to look for. But let's get started on this train wreck. So you can see right here, I'm about to do this, it's gonna be loud. You can see where it's been skimmed so many times with filler and stuff like that, it's actually not sticking, and there's also water blowing out of it and everything else from underneath it where other people have skimmed it, and then the water is coming from the inside of the body of the vehicle out, getting under the body filler and the paint and lifting it, making it bubble out. But if you watch, some of this stuff will fly off, flake off, you'll see water come out, all kinds of stuff. Here we go. Alright, so that's about all you're going to do. You don't want to go too much because, again, we're not trying to rust repair this the correct way. And if you start going too far, you'll actually put holes that are just going to be harder for you to repair, because there's not going to be any thing for your filler to sit on. You definitely don't want to blow holes through this thing because this is very delicate. So you just want a good sanded smooth. I mean, look, I can run my hands across this and not really tear my hands up. You just want a decently smooth surface to start on, to get some filler slicked over, and that way you can, you know, make it look back whole. So again, we're just going to blow this off, make sure there's no dust or cracks that we can't get out. And now we're gonna start slinging filler. My guy here in a minute is gonna come and take these moldings off so that we can go all the way to the edge. It's just I'm gonna go ahead and start getting some filler laid out because this is gonna eat up a lot of filler. Alright, so here's this one corner right here, and it actually had a seal in it. So you had your seal that went on like that, so your seal was glued in and it hid a lot of it back there. So we just pulled it off so we could get the work done, and then we'll put some trim glue back on it. You can see the double-sided tape where they've already been in there and put double-sided tape all over it. Because from the factory, it gets a clip, not double-sided tape. None of the seals are double-sided tape from the factory. On this vehicle. So we won't really have to do no repair to that edge because, like I said, the seal covers it up. We'll have to glue it back in. That way you can't pull it back when you're at the car lot and try to look or whatever. So make sure that's locked in for the dealer. You can see on the edge of the seal where it has already been taped. You see that little bit of paint on the edge of the seal? There's something to look for right there that has been taped and painted once. And there's actually a paint line, I'm sorry, right there, where the seal used to sit, and it was all taped up. Somebody did a pretty good job of taping it up. But I mean, this whole vehicle is already packed full of body filler. When you start grinding on it, you can just see body filler that's already been on it once. So, and you got stuff like this right here where this has been nicked. We don't have no grinding marks down here because I haven't grinded here yet. I grinded over here. We didn't nick this, somebody else did. So this is another thing you can, I mean, not look for, but I mean, it's a giveaway that somebody's been in here with body filler, is that they had nicked the plastic right there. So let's get this going in. It's gonna be hard for me to time lapse a lot of this or show y'all a lot of this because, like I said, I need to keep the film up close, so I don't really want to put the whole vehicle on blast. So what I've done is come in here and just grind out the face of the rocker. We're not worried about that down there. We actually can't get that because there are steps in the way, and we don't want to take the steps off necessarily. We're gonna try something here in a minute to get them off, but we're not trying to actually take them off. So all I did was come in here with a flat wheel and grind the metal down and get the loose stuff off. And it's actually not going to be that terrible to go back over this. But you can see that's one corner done. This is what you're talking about. There's nothing left of the fender. I mean, there's just, you don't, I mean, this is like body filler. Like, I mean, you don't have nothing to shape the edge on, really, if we were trying to fix it. Another thing you have to remember is, again, with the brake. See, the flare is giving us a place to break the color, whereas if you wanted to fix these, you would have to go all the way to the top. You couldn't do what you're doing now, so it'd be a ton more money. But, I mean, yeah, some of these are just completely gone. Like, there's nothing left. Alright, so here's the other side of the vehicle, and if you look carefully, you can actually see this lip right here. This is where the molding was, and it's already been body filled once, and that's how thick it is, because whoever body filled it was too lazy to even take the moldings off. So at least we're taking the moldings off so we can get all the way to the edges, but that's the other side. We're going to grind this out. When I grind this out, I just use a little 90-degree grinder with a 36 grit paper on it. Get it halfway smooth, like I said, so I can skim coat it down. But this one looks like it's the same as the other side. We're just gonna get the face, what you see when you open the door, and rock and roll. So here is that side all grinded out, and as you can see, it's got a ton of rust all the way through it, all the way through right there. So it's a ton of it. We're gonna skim coat this with body filler and rock and roll. All right, so on this side, you know, we grinded all that out. Already went over all that. We grinded that out. But check this out. This is where the first repair was done. Right here. You know what that is? That is some kind of Scotch-Brite or some kind of material. Oh, it's not even on camera. Some kind of material that they have shoved inside the hole to fill it in. This is the type of crap that people do. So, yeah, it's kind of cool to find that. But yeah, let's just leave that pushed in there because this thing was probably completely gone at some point. Somebody pushed, looks like some Scotch-Brite in there. But let's leave that alone and we're just gonna cave and pave right over it, hack and pack. All right, so still working on this rusty thing. And the this panel right here had a rust hole in it. So it's this panel is supposed to be flat. It's supposed to be flat like this and flat like this. So since it had rust hole, we had to cover it up and basically build a mound. So it's actually been built up high. So it's kind of like this. You know, there's like a mound over it instead of it being flat because you're trying to literally bury rust. So you have to, you want to keep your body line straight. You got a body line here, and then, you know, the body line goes into there. So you got to keep that straight because normally if you build a mound up like this, then your body line is going to go straight, and then it's going to kind of curve like that, and then back straight and so high. So all I've done is roughed out, sanded it, put the tape line down, and now I'm actually going to make my point right here. So I'm not necessarily cutting this panel flat like this. This panel is cut flat, but let's say it's supposed to be cut like this. It's cut more like that, so that we're, like, again, we're burying that rust hole. So what to get this corner right here, I've laid tape, and then I'm going to kind of roll this panel into that. That way, when you look down at your body line, appears to be all there, but it's actually not perfectly straight. If you were to put a flat edge on it, you would actually be able to tell that there's a giant hump there. And it's also, the rust hole was only like right in here somewhere. It wasn't that much, so I've skimmed it a long run so that hopefully your eyes don't necessarily see it. All right, so sanded that real fast, and as you can see now, you can actually see where the sandpaper barely nicks your tape. So I just used my tape for a straight edge, and once you see your sandpaper barely nick it, that when you know you're at it. So all that does is put a nice crisp edge right here, like I said, because your eyes are going to see the edge. You're not necessarily going to see this, so that should look good after picking. It is 10 a.m. and my man's out here grilling. Facts. CJ decided to come by and grill us some food. I guess this is our Thanksgiving celebration. Got the whole setup out here. Ed's in the booth taping one up. Got our doors taped in a funky manner. So we brought our tape up to here on our quarter panels, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna build a tunnel here like I went over in the other video to do a blend. I had sold the customer on the job doing a different method, and I actually decided to do the job a little better than what I sold him on, or at least attempt to. If I fall short on making it look good, then it's back to plan A that I sold him the job on. So I didn't promise him this way, I promised him another way. That way I didn't set the standards too high. So we're gonna break it right there underneath the hinge, hide the brake line there. It's gonna be a rubber seal that's gonna go in there. And then we're gonna get all this jammed out, and I'm just gonna blend it out up there. And then on our quarter panels, we're gonna build a flap across here, not really a tunnel. So we're gonna tape a piece of tape like this as a flap so we don't develop a hard line, because I've 3,000'd all this from here to here. So this is my blend zone that is actually 3,000 grit. So I want to create a flap so that my color and my paint goes from here down, and then when I'm done with my final coat of clear, I can peel the flap and do a melt right here, and I can buff that. So coming back here, we've taped this at the bottom of the tailgate area. We've taped it off. We're gonna tape off the All right, so this is how I like to do the tunnels, is I lay it out on the car, and I just gently tape a couple pieces in a row together. And then I take this all as one piece. I might be able to fully do this on camera with just one hand. I'm not gonna set up a tripod. I'll peel it off, so now I have a giant sheet, and then I'll move it up here like this. Move it up here to put it across and hump it out. So what I'll do is I will stick the top first. Let's see here. So I'm gonna stick the top. This is just how I do mine. So I'm gonna stick the top like that. Sorry, I'm trying to hold the camera. And I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna hump my center out, and then I'm gonna pull this up where I want it at. I'm sorry. hand underneath there. So now I have basically a tunnel, a flap, so that when I'm face on and I'm blowing paint like this, it doesn't go up in there. But as you can see, there's still room up in there for a little bit of dust to go right along the edge to blend it out. So that's how I'm gonna do all the tunnels. All right, so there's our first tunnel. Tunnel, like I talked about, is what I call a tunnel. Second tunnel, just right here on the quarter. You can go up underneath it, gonna allow it dusted. There's a flap that I was talking about. This is just how I do mine. You can do yours however you want to, but this is just how I do mine. Cover it over the emblem, just so that I can dust this, and a little paint will float right underneath there, but it won't fully get over everything. I don't want to take the emblems off for this job. This is cheap in and outer. Another flap on this side, just so that the paint can just not make a hard line. Go to this quarter, again, another tunnel. And come up here to this one, again, another tunnel. So it's a lot of work, guys, to do this, but hopefully this turns out good. Definitely, this job's probably worth double of what I charged, but it is what it is. Let's spray this thing out. So on this kind of thing, all you want is your paint gun fan pattern completely in tight and turn the air pressure down low. That way you don't have a big fan. So if you watch, it's going to be more like an airbrush pattern. See that? So we're just going to be able to blend it in. All this is a drop coat. That way I don't have to spend so much money on the actual color of the vehicle. Got a little water right here. Let's dry this out. And now we're going to go into just lightly dusting our color. We're going to go downwards so that our tunnel does what it's supposed to. That way paint's not getting up top. All I want to do is darken up the primer with this drop coat, and then I'll actually go in with the legit coat. So I'm going to go around, dust everything out like this. And once I get that done, then move on to my actual base coat color. But by turning this thing in tight like this, a tight pattern, you have a lot of control, especially when you get inside the door jamb and stuff, so that you're not overspraying all over everything. Alright, so this is the color that we're actually shooting. Okay, so this is some that I had left over, that way I don't have to go buy more paint. That's the color, okay? So this is going to be just enough to probably coat over everything, so we have to build a color that can get me to where I need to be closer, so that when I go to drop my final coat, it's not too much. So here's a color that's a little bright. So here's the color we just dropped, which is a darker color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of this brighter color in here to this darker can, and that's going to give it just a little bit of black in it, and hopefully darken it up. If not, I have more dark, so that's definitely darker. So I'm gonna add a little bit more in there. So we're getting there, but now I have this other color, which is way darker, and I'm gonna pour it in there. So all I'm trying to do is darken this color down just a little bit to get me more in the family of the color we're actually going to shoot, to save our money, because this is leftover paint. So there is that color. And let's see what we got over here. This makes the stick is terrible. There's our color. So I mean, we're getting close. Still a little dark, so let's add a little bit more darker to this formula. Darken this up just a little bit more. And you just want to do a little at a time, because once you add too much and you can't go back. So I really like that. I'd rather it almost be a little bit lighter than the actual color I'm gonna drop. Yeah, see, I like that. I could even go actually a little bit darker. But man, I mean, I'm getting close. I think we're gonna roll with that, go try to shoot that, see what it looks like when it comes out the gun against the other paint. If it needs to be darkened up, I'll come back in here and add a little bit more to it. So here's a very good example of where the paint's blended out. So there's our color that I just dropped on there that I made, and then you can see my blend stops up in there. So that's not far off for us to run our next color over top of. As you can see from that one, I was pretty happy with that drop coat color. That ended up working out really good in my favor. So I'm definitely happy with that. So I got a little bit left, but I'm not going to save it because it was a custom mix. And it might mess me up in the future if I go to grab that can and thinking that it's the coat on the side of the can. So being I just had a splash left, I'll trash it. If there was a lot left, I'd put marking on it to let me know that it has been modified, so I don't think it's the right color. But anyway, now we're gonna go ahead and clean the gun out of all the old colors that we just shot. Make sure none of them metallics are left in there. And let's see, what was this? Clean the gun out of all the old colors, put the correct color in there, and go start putting a coat over it. The outside of the vehicle is more important than getting the jams. If you don't have enough to get the jams, it's okay, because our mixed color is close enough that most people ain't gonna see inside jams. But we do want to make sure we completely cover the outside really good. So let's get that knocked out and get this thing done so we can get freaking paid. Okay, let's throw a new product in the mix. So I got my clear coat mixed up. That base coat went on perfect. Had enough to coat inside the door jams, everything. Got one final coat over the whole 9 yards. So I am going to do dirty clear coat. Remember, we went over this in a couple other videos, meaning I'm going to mix my clear up, and then I'm going to dump it in the paint to pull the last little bit of metallics out of there I can and run it through a dirty filter, because I just want every metallic I possibly have to cover up flaws and imperfections, since we are doing a cover up high job. We want our first coat of clear that we're going to put on to have a slight tint, a little bit of metallics in it, because I firmly believe that, in my opinion, it helps hide stuff and clear stuff. But we had a hard time taping this thing up, where tape wouldn't stick to the vehicle. I don't know what's all over the damn thing, but it was an absolute nightmare to tape this vehicle. We had to wipe everything down, wax and grease remover beforehand, and I'm still afraid it didn't get it all, so we're going to chunk this into the mix of the clear coat. So this is fisheye eliminator. This is going to help from any little tiny fisheyes, which normally start small like that and then open up, from contamination in the clear coat. If I ever get contamination in a job, I'll be sure to film it to show y'all. It does happen in this line in the type of work I do, since it's not real high end. But we're not going to take no chances today, and we're going to go ahead and chunk some fisheye eliminator in there. All right, so we got all this rust bucket done. You know, we blended it and hit it up here. You can't really see it at all. Can't see it at all where it's blended, but it all cleaned up. It's still got rust all around there. That's getting covered up by fender flares. You don't see it. You can see the orange peel and the nastiness. You can barely see the blend right there, but overall you don't see it. That's all going to get covered up. All the bottom of the doors are done. All inside here is done. So all that's done inside the door jams. There is going to be a hard line right there, hid underneath the hinge. And then all of this side is actually just dusted out. How I did it, you actually won't see no hard line on that side. That's just water across there. So all of them nasty corners are repaired, or not repaired, hacked, I should say. All the bottom of the doors, they're all fixed. Let's go around here. See here at the tailgate, all the bottom of the tailgate. Remember, we had a giant rust hole in it. That's all fixed. Not fixed, hacked again. I keep saying fixed. I should say hid. So there's the other side. It's all hid. You can see a hard line right here, but this is going to get covered up with a fender flare, which should come way into here. But all that's nice and hid. All of this, you can see a run where I melted it, but that gets hid with a fender flare, because here's the edge of the fender. So what you see up here looks good. Don't worry about taking that out, because there's no point. That'd be a waste of my time, because it's all getting covered up. So all down here, It's all hid. This little, we didn't finish out this corner perfectly because it gets covered by a flare, but all that's done. All up inside this jam is done. Nobody will notice none of that. Again, go up here to your striker. And you got a hard line right here, but you can barely see. It's there though. And then down there, again, the way I did it, you can see hard line right there, but nobody's ever, y'all, whoever's looking at this car, looking it over, buying it, never see that. Never see it. The dealer's got to do something with inside these doors. I'm not messing with that. Me and him agreed that he's gonna do something about that. But the outside of the doors are all repaired. And then up here on this front door and this front fender, we had a giant hole on the fender, and it's all hacked up. I keep wanting to use the word repaired, but I'm not trying to credit that this is a correct repair. This is dealership work. That's exactly what it is. And up here, you don't see the blend or the melt or nothing. There's the rust in the edge of the fender. Nah, you don't see none of that up there, so that's pretty good. Like, I think they're gonna be really happy, and all he's gotta do is hide the rest of it however he wants to do it. It's not my job, and I think that's another successful repair. So again, this is not repaired correctly. This is not how you repair a vehicle, but if you are working, trying to do a side hustle, or if you are trying to make a little extra cash, you can definitely do these kind of repairs for dealers. Dealerships will pay you for these. It pays the bills. It puts money in your pocket, makes you some more money, and it is what it is. You know, I'm just hired to do the job. I'm not the one selling it. And whatever. I mean, some dealers might disclose that it was rusty. Other ones might lie about it and just try to cover it up. I don't know what this guy is going to do. He's a good stand-up guy overall. He might just be trying to cover it up and still show the customer that it does have some rust. So obviously when you pull the Carfax and it's from up north, you'll see that it was a northern vehicle. But a lot of times you can tell the buyer that it was from up north. If they get underneath it and look at it, they will see some rust. But because you hid and covered up the outside, a lot of times, you know, the average buyer will say, oh, well, it's not that bad. You know, it's a nice vehicle overall, and it is a nice vehicle. It's clean on the inside. You know, the paint's not in that bad a shape, but obviously putting body fill over that rust, it's going to come back sometimes as soon as a couple months. It might start having little tiny microscopic bubbles with the moisture coming from the inside of the panel trying to get out. You know, it could start there, but then again, it might be 2 years before you start seeing anything. There's just no real way to tell. So it is what it is. Like I said, we're just here to pay the bills and to make money at the end of the day, and I'm not the one selling it. I was just hired. I did the job I was hired for. I did the job how I was hired, and I did the job on the terms of the customer that they wanted it done on within a budget that we both agreed on. So it's not normally we don't do too much hack work, but we do it every now and then for some dealers. They do know that we will do it. We also do legit rust repair where we cut out whole entire rockers, weld them in, and do body work. The next job that we get like that, where we are cutting a whole rocker out and welding it in, I will definitely go over everything with y'all, because we do some high-end, couple $1,000 rust repair jobs from time to time also. But I'm pretty flexible in helping the person out with whatever they want. I'm not too good to do low-end work, and I'm not too inexperienced to do high-end work if I feel like it. So comment, like, subscribe, enjoy. I'll catch y'all in the next video. Thanks.